hear a phone conversation in which a woman talks to a public transport official about something she has lost. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4.
Hello, City Transport Lost Property. How can I help you?
Oh, hello. Yes, I'm calling about a suitcase I lost yesterday. I don't suppose I'll get it back, but I thought I'd try.
Well, some people do hand lost items in, so you might be lucky. Let's put the details into the computer.
OK.
Right, so let's start with a description of the suitcase.
OK, well, it's small, and it's the type you can pull along on wheels.
How about the colour?
Yes, it's black, but not exactly plain black. It has some narrow stripes down it, sort of grey. Actually, no, they're white, now I think about it.
OK, I'll just add that information. Now, were there any items inside it?
Yes, I had a big bunch of keys in there. Luckily, my assistant manager has an identical set, so she's going out this morning to get some copies made.
So, therefore, your office...
That's right. My house keys were in my pocket, thank goodness.
Anything else?
There were a lot of documents, but they're saved on my laptop anyway, so they don't matter so much. But the thing I'm really worried about, I haven't even taken it out of the box yet, is a camera I just bought. That's really why I'm calling. I can't believe I've lost it already.
I see. Well, let's hope we can find it for you. Was there anything else?
I don't think so.
Any credit cards?
They were in my handbag, and I had my passport inside my jacket pocket.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you will have some time to look at the questions 5 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
Money, clothing, any personal items?
Let me think. I had an umbrella. It was black. No, blue. But obviously that isn't as important as the other things.
No, but it all helps us identify your property and get it back to you. Anyway, I just need to ask you for some basic details about your journey. So it was yesterday, was it?
That's right. In the afternoon. Around 2 p.m, maybe 2:30.
OK, so that'd be May the 13th.
Yes. I was heading to Highbury. That's where I live.
All right, and you mentioned a passport, I think. So you were coming from the airport, I presume?
Yes, and I was looking forward to getting home so much, and what with being tired and everything, I think that's why I just forgot about the case.
And how were you travelling when you lost your property? What kind of transport were you using?
I thought about getting the train, but that would have meant a bus journey as well, and I couldn't be bothered. So I decided to take a taxi eventually. That's where I must have left it.
Well, that's good news in a way. It's more likely that a driver would have found it and handed it in.
I hope so.
Well, I need your personal details now. Can I have your full name, please?
Yes, it's Lisa Docherty. I'll spell that for you. It's Docherty.
Thank you. And next, if I could have your address, the best address to send you the property if we manage to locate it.
Sure. It's number 15A, River Road. And that's Highbury, as I said.
Thank you. Just a moment. There's just one final thing. That's your phone number.
I guess my mobile would be best. Hang on. I can never remember my own number. OK, I've got it. It's 07979 605 437.
Very well. I think that's everything we need at this end. I'll have a look at the data on...
Section 2. You will hear the chairperson of the Middletown Urban Farming Scheme talking to a group of people who are interested in joining the scheme. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16 on page 3. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16.
I'm Chris Butler, and I'm the chairperson of the Middletown Urban Farming Scheme, or MUFS for short, a highly successful program which encourages city dwellers to grow their own fruit and vegetables, to become city farmers, if you will. Who started MUFS? Well, the idea of urban farming has been around for quite a while, particularly among town planners. But it was actually a group of Middletown business people, including myself, who decided to create what became MUFS. University agriculture specialists got involved later. Now, initially, the aim was not some eco-friendly goal of reducing CO2 emissions caused by the transport of food from farm to dinner plate. It was simply to maximize the utilization of the vacant or idle land that lies within the city. Of course, later we realized that an additional benefit might be a healthier diet for local people. Let me tell you a bit about the groups that have joined the scheme. We've got any number of schools involved and loads of corporate employees, so our message seems to have been well received there. But for next year, we're going to concentrate on getting various community centers, like those for senior citizens, to join, because so far they've been somewhat slow to take up the scheme. Now, the core committee of the MUFS is a group of dedicated gardeners. They probably won't be familiar with your specific plot of land. They're mostly amateurs. But they are the people who know the ins and outs of gardening, and they will be happy to sit down with any MUFS member and make some hands-on suggestions about gardening. But don't expect them to know the answers to technical questions, like the Latin names of plants. The MUFS are keen to support members who are physically disabled. We're looking at the possibility of providing specially adapted gardening tools on loan to members who can't cope with regular tools. That's not happening yet. But we do have some window boxes as well as larger containers, which we can distribute free of charge to these members, although they will have to provide their own soil and compost themselves. I'm especially proud of the work we've done with the local schools, both grade school level and high schools. The teachers say that they knew the scheme would be of some practical use in science classes like biology. Despite the original hopes of some, the fruit and vegetable plots haven't provided cheaper lunches for their students. But what they didn't anticipate was the change in attitude that the scheme has created amongst their students. They say the students have become much more conscious of their surrounding environment. They want to keep it neat and tidy.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20 on page 4. Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20.
Now, a number of local organizations and businesses provide our members with free goods and services. Let me go through some of them. The city hospital, as you might expect, has to provide thousands of meals for its patients. So the manager of its kitchen runs a course for our members on how to use vegetables in a huge variety of dishes. The local government found it had a large glass building, which the Parks Department used to start off flower seeds and young plants during the winter, and they agreed to allow our members to use this free of charge to get their own little seedlings off to a good start. Another thing, the university has agreed that if members send them a sample of their soil, they will do a series of tests on it to indicate what kind of plants will grow best and what types of fertilizer and nutrients would be best to use. And just to make sure our members know what's good for them, a supermarket is offering a series of classes on how to lose weight and stay healthy by having a sensible diet. Now, let's talk about the practicalities.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Section 3. You will hear two psychology students called Katie and Daniel discussing how taking a walk can affect people's creativity and physical well-being. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26 on page 5. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Hi, Daniel.
Katie, you look as if you're off somewhere.
Yes, I was just heading out for a walk.
Funny. I was just reading an article about some research that's been done on the effects of walking on creativity.
Sounds interesting.
I've always found walking helped me think, but this article confirms that everybody can benefit.
Oh, tell me more.
OK, but I may even do some more research on it at some point, so don't pinch my idea.
Promise.
Well, in the experiments, the researchers tested participants' creativity by comparing how many ideas they thought of while they were walking, compared to while they were doing other activities.
What, like listening to music?
Nothing like that. But they did analyse the ideas participants came up with when sitting, both outdoors and inside. What I found surprising was that they didn't compare walking to other forms of exercise, like running, for example.
Right. So what was the difference between the experiments?
Well, in each one, the activities were put together in different ways. Several of the experiments specifically focused on the ability of participants to come up with new ideas. Then the final experiment was a control test of sorts.
Oh, right.
In one experiment, participants had to think of unusual uses for 3 everyday objects within a time limit.
OK.
And then there was an experiment with words.
What did they ask them to do?
Compare words in unusual ways. For example, the word sweet. If participants simply said sweet as sugar, that wasn't creative. But an answer like sweet as a cat with honey on its paws was.
OK. I can see why they'd ask them to do that.
Really? I just don't see how the experiment is fair.
Why? Because the conclusions are based only on the researcher's opinion.
I think it's more that anyone who'd studied language would be at an advantage.
OK. Was there an experiment about focused thinking?
Yeah, there was. It aimed to find out if walking helped focused thinking, though I wasn't sure that I agreed with their findings. They decided that walking doesn't help this type of thinking.
What evidence did they have?
Well, that's it. I don't think there was enough evidence to support their conclusions, even if their methods were sound.
Well, I'd certainly hesitate before making such a bold statement.
Still, it's a first step, isn't it? I suppose to move forward with this, they'll need to test other ways people keep fit, like swimming.
That would be useful, but personally, I'd like to know more about the fundamental reason for the effect on people's creativity.
That would be good. Then it could be applied more widely in work, for example.
Again, that's secondary, really.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30 on page 6. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
But how would you test walking if you wanted to assess its physical benefits?
Well, firstly, I'd like to know more about the benefits of different situations.
What about the effect of footwear?
Hadn't thought of that.
Well, I've read that shoes with thinner soles were found to be better for people's joints. It even made the skeletal structure tougher.
Interesting. Was that because they lost weight?
Not as far as I'm aware. And then there's walking in the mountains.
Walking in the mountains. I think I've read something about that. Doesn't altitude help people regulate their sleep patterns?
It's more that it improves your vision.
It must be those breathtaking views.
Yeah.
And what about the effect that walking has for elderly people?
Better balance by any chance?
More than that. It had a positive effect by helping them maintain their body clock's natural rhythm, both when going to bed and waking up.
Right. And what about the effect of walking long distances?
Well, a person needs to find the balance between their optimum speed and their natural breathing pattern. Once they're synchronised, they can just keep on going for much longer periods than they could before.
I can see how that would work. But anyway...
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Section 4. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40
Good morning, everyone. Today, we'll be discussing some crucial conservation efforts focused on the green turtle. Starting with the green turtle, this magnificent creature has been facing numerous threats due to human activities and environmental changes. Conservationists are making dedicated efforts to protect these turtles, particularly by keeping a close eye on their breeding sites along the coastline. Monitoring the nesting areas on the beaches is essential to ensure the turtles have a safe environment to lay their eggs and to help increase their population numbers over time. Moving on to the Aldabra giant tortoise, this species is one of the largest tortoises in the world. Interestingly, its ecological role is often likened to that of a large mammal in other ecosystems, the elephant. Just as elephants shape their environment by knocking down trees and creating pathways, the Aldabra giant tortoise influences its habitat significantly. Despite their size, these tortoises are capable of moving swiftly and are most active during the early hours of the day. Their activity peaks in the morning when the temperatures are cooler. Conservationists and researchers assist with the annual population studies of these tortoises to keep track of their numbers and health status. An important part of this work involves checking whether the tortoises are encroaching into nearby human settlements. Monitoring their movement helps prevent potential conflicts with local villages and ensures both human and tortoise communities can coexist peacefully. In addition to animal monitoring, there's also a focus on plant life. Seedlings are cultivated in a controlled environment, a nursery, until they are robust enough to survive in the wild. This practice aids in restoring native plant species and maintaining the ecological balance. To support these efforts, a comprehensive database of plant species is being created. This repository of information will be invaluable for researchers and conservationists in tracking plant diversity and planning further conservation actions. Lastly, let's discuss mangrove forests, which are vital coastal ecosystems. One of the key activities here is measuring how quickly coastal erosion is occurring. Understanding the speed of erosion helps in developing strategies to protect the shoreline and the communities that rely on it. While studying mangroves, noting the different species of birds that inhabit these areas is also important. Birds are excellent indicators of environmental health, and their presence can provide insights into the overall condition of the ecosystem. Additionally, recording the temperature each day is a simple yet crucial task. Daily temperature data contributes to a larger body of research on climate patterns and how they affect both marine and terrestrial environments.